In this video we're going to go over paper mache over the top of your hollow form that you would have created based off of the other videos in this series and in your project. What's in your kit is Elmer's glue, so you have what you need to make the paper mache. The paper that you're going to use can be any scrap paper, notebook paper, old notes, whatever, but I'm just going to use regular white printer paper that I've got here. What's not in your kit is a small container that you're going to use to dip your paper into the glue mixture. I added in a little bit of water to this Elmer's glue to make it coat the paper easier and to dry a little bit faster and to kind of extend how much glue you actually have in your kit. So for many purposes, but primarily it makes the dipping of the paper easier. You want to work on a surface of probably old cardboard because you're going to get some drips all over the place, and it's hard to get off of surfaces. It comes off your hands really easy, but getting it off of a surface can be a little harder. So hold on to some of that cardboard, put it underneath where you're working. You can see what I've done here. I've already done half of this form. Now I need to do the other half. Same with the others. I've done half of this one, and I've done half of this one. Each of these forms has unique challenges in how to actually apply the paper mache, because normally you're probably just going to want to take a big giant sheet and then cover your form, but then you're going to end up with creases and folds. It might seem faster, but it's not going to give you the surface that you're probably looking for. So we're going to tear it up into smaller strips. We take our paper, we're going to dip it into the glue, we're going to wring off some of it. And when we're working with this form, we have a straight edge. So I can take my paper and then bend it over that edge. Okay, that's one piece. That was an easy one, right? But when we get to corners, that's going to be the hard part on this one, okay? So bear with me, we'll get to the part where I'm saying it's hard, okay? Got that one. I come over here. I'm going to go this way. It's not hard yet. Okay. So we still have that crisp, clean edge. We don't have any folds or creases. But we're going to end up with something like this little corner here. You can't come in with a big piece. You have to come in with a small piece. And preferably triangles or a small point. And I've got enough glue on my fingers I can still coat to where you can lay it over that corner and then that piece disappears. You don't want to have any wrinkles that are disrupting the visual surface of your form, because remember, this is about design. You want it to look like it's supposed to look, not how it accidentally came out. Repeat that process and you'll cover the rest of your form until you no longer see any more cardboard or you don't see any more tape. So just keep coating that one until you have everything covered. Okay, challenges here. We've already covered a straight edge that we looked at on this one, so we're not going to do that. But we have a concave surface here. And when you're looking at this side, it's pretty smooth, and when you look at this edge, you can see how the different layers folded over, and you can see they're predominantly triangular pieces of paper. So what that does is the smaller of the triangle is what's going to cross over the plane from one edge to the next. So we can still keep that crisp edge. We can keep that clean line. There's another triangle. Come in with that. Maybe go to a slightly different angle. And you can see we have a clean line starting to take form. They don't all have to be triangles, as long as you approach that edge carefully and not with too large of a piece. You can keep the line that you're working on. So when it comes to points, you have to come in and start working with much smaller pieces. Probably about that big. Sorry for the focus. About that big when you're starting to work in a little bit more detailed area. So work with smaller pieces, you'll get a finer surface. When we're dealing with a sphere that we were looking at in the previous video, and this is only one way to make a sphere, you're probably going to want to make some longer narrow strips. So you're going to come in with a narrow strip, get it coated all the way over, and I'm just going to go in the middle there. I'm going to fold those two ends. I'm only working on this one wedge of the circle at a time, as opposed to trying to cover the entire thing all in one go, because then we're going to get kind of a weird surface. Now that we're starting to curve quicker around there, we're not in the middle of that circle. I'm going to use a thinner strip. Being careful of how much I press, because I don't want to indent that surface. Okay. I'm going to come over here, go towards the top. I'm going to cover part of that, because that piece wasn't quite long enough. I still get it to work. Okay, come over here. Too big. Doesn't want to make the curve. Trying to get ahead of myself, huh? There, thin piece. Another thin piece, being careful not to press in too far. Hands are running out of glue. Okay. Now we're getting towards the top of this one here. Small piece. Small piece. I'm going to fold that end in. There. You can see we're starting to build up on that surface. Okay. Take it one section at a time until you get all the way around, and then when you're looking at your finished form, and if it's too soft, if it's not holding up, or if there's any small little gaps, like probably right in here, where you can still see a little bit through, or some pieces that lifted up, I didn't get enough glue on there, you're going to want to give it a second coat in those areas. You don't necessarily have to give the entire thing a second coat, but look at your surface. If you can see that brown cardboard underneath, if you can see the tan of the masking tape underneath, you're going to need that second coat. You probably won't need a third coat unless you have some bold marks with, say, a Sharpie marker that you're using to draw on your cardboard. But paper mache is something that we probably are familiar with already, and not too many new things here. Dilute your glue just a little bit with water, not too much. You want to be able to dip your fingers in, and your fingers should still stay white like the glue and not just run entirely off of your fingers. When you're working on corners, work with triangles. The smaller the strips you work with, the smoother the finish you can get. And take your time. This part, work on it a little bit, let it dry, come back to it if it's getting frustrated. But this will neutralize all of the quick construction that we did by just taping all of the different layers together.